Part 51. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xionglang Guo. Chapter 501. After repelling the expeditionary force of the Silver Shadow Empire, destroying the Xiao Palace, and then conquering the heavenly world and dealing with Shang Tian, the crisis on Earth finally came to an end. Li Anping then opened a space gate to Kaoj City on the boundary gate of the heavenly world in the White Land, making this enclave connected to the Earth. In addition to the large number of casualties among the monks above the Jindan stage in the Xiao Palace, their other disciples and the mortals they ruled were still alive. The interstellar warriors quickly found the mountain gate of the Xiao Palace floating in the sky. This mountain gate is hidden in a folded space similar to a demi-plane. It looks only the size of a small town, but the layers of space add up to almost the size of 10 Earths, with a population of more than 100 billion. Now, like other worlds, it has become one of the colonies of the Earth, and the huge palace is located tens of thousands of miles above Kaoj City. Although Xiao Palace still has many disciples who have achieved chi induction, foundation building, and out-of-body experience, such strength has become a lamb to be slaughtered in the face of the current Earth. After killing several waves of rebels, the Earth took over the entire Xiao Palace smoothly and began to deploy a large number of high-tech monitoring and control devices in it, slowly incorporating the entire Xiao Palace into the Earth system for easy rule. As for the Heavenly Court, although it is theoretically a colony of the Earth, because that world is too vast and there are too many strong people, the Earth cannot digest it for the time being, so it is basically still managed by Li Anping himself. However, he only manages it a little bit, so that this world remains the same to the greatest extent. Instead, he copied a lot of immortal arts in this world and put them into the Earth's database. From then on, the Earth will gradually have more power systems belonging to the immortal way, and there may be many immortals who use flying swords and hold magic weapons. In addition, the Earth will also receive the spacecraft of the Silver Shadow Empire, especially the information and star maps in it, which will be of great help to the Earth's future interstellar colonization activities. Next, Li Anping perfected the biological capture device after many tests. Biological controller, invulnerable cloak, one-hit kill gloves, jumping dagger, and other technological products, and manufactured production lines, so that all these products can be equipped in large quantities on the interstellar warriors on Earth. Of course, all these equipment are made by Li Anping, and each use will be required to obtain Li Anping's authorization. In other words, every time it comes into play, it is like applying to the server. Only by applying to Li Anping can it play a real role. This process is too short, and the user can basically not feel it, but it is guaranteed that it will not be used by creatures other than Earthlings, and it is also guaranteed that it will not be used recklessly by Earthlings. In addition, Li Anping still felt uneasy, and in order to increase the defense power of the Earth, he successively created several props. Outer space. The sky track with a diameter of more than 100,000 kilometers wrapped the entire Earth. Li Anping stood somewhere on the sky track, and saw him tap his fingers lightly. As the light surged, a section of the sky track that was several kilometers long in front of him changed, and many silver metals were born from nothingness and became part of the sky track. All adjustments are done. Are you all ready? Li Anping heard the voices of some researchers. All are ready. Let's start. 3, 2, 1. Boom. The entire sky track seemed to be burning with silver flames, and the flames gradually enveloped the entire Earth. This is the ultimate sky track that Li Anping built for the Earth. The outermost silver flame is a layer of time and space distortion shield. Any attack that falls on it will be directly distorted to other time and space. It may be somewhere in the past universe, or it may be a void in the future. It is like a layer of portal that is always open, but it is much more advanced than that. And inside the sky track, it is all artificial sunlight, starry sky, air, gravity, maintaining the living habits of humans in the past, of course, It can also be adjusted at will, and even a large amount of folded space is artificially created inside, making the Earth more than 100 times larger than before, and even if the population expands again in the future, this folded space can be expanded. What's more amazing is that through this ultimate skytrack, humans can freely control the movement of the entire Earth and make time and space jumps. Li Anping just turned the Earth into a mobile superfortress, the Supreme Kingdom of God. As for the original location of the Earth, Li Anping placed Earth number 2 with the Wupo which will also be a colony of mankind. With the start of the skytrack, countless data on the entire Earth flashed out of Li Anping's eyes like a waterfall. This kind of global change affects the entire body. He needs to monitor in real time and constantly adjust the system parameters of various places to optimize the performance of the entire skytrack, and even be able to run with the help of the intelligent brain without his monitoring. While Li Anping was transforming the entire Earth world, human society was also changing rapidly because of Li Anping's black technology. The All Things Manufacturing Machine is a machine that can directly manufacture most things on Earth through zero-point vacuum energy. An ordinary person, even if he knows nothing, can design anything he wants to manufacture through the All Things Manufacturing Machine with the help of the intelligent brain, as long as he can go online, and then pay electronic currency to get the physical object. From small things like food, parts, watches, and mobile phones to large things like robots, houses, cars, and spaceships, as long as you have enough electronic currency and authority, you can make them all. There are also brainwave learning devices and growth accelerators, which can make a baby grow up in an instant and learn anything you want him to learn. You can also shape him into various personalities such as bravery, wisdom, caution, and peace through the Xianwang in advance. Even his own asterisk attributes can be constantly modified according to the tutorials in the virtual world. There is also anti-aging oral liquid, which allows all humans to maintain their peak appearance. The automatic cosmetic surgery table only takes half an hour to turn the user into the previously designed appearance. At first, most people were a little resistant to these things, but the trend of technology cannot be stopped by habits. As time goes by, more and more people begin to use these technologies, and habits are changed because of technology. All human beings have become handsome men and beautiful women. Most people spend their childhood in the virtual world of brainwave learning devices, but this virtual world is also connected to the internet, so they also have childhoods and childhood playmates. Because people's personalities, appearances, and asterisk conditions can be set and changed by themselves, all kinds of geniuses, prodigies, and amazing talents appear one after another. Talents with amazing talents in various technologies, magic, immortal ways, and martial arts seem to be emerging in bulk, and they push the development of the world's technology in reverse. There are also many other unprecedented black technology props that are constantly changing the entire human society. Perhaps in a few decades, any fresh graduate on the Earth who has just graduated from the virtual world of the brainwave learning device will be a creator god who can create the world in the eyes of other races, and the entire human race will gradually enter a mythological era. And Li Anping finally put his mind at ease and drove his main body to the Chaos Sea. To be continued. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 502. On the blue sea, bubbles floated up from the sea one after another. These bubbles looked like ordinary bubbles at first glance, but if you look closely, you seem to be able to see scenes of the birth and destruction of worlds unfolding in them. Not only the birth and destruction of the world, but also scenes of love, hatred, and warmth in the world, which are extremely complicated. Li Anping could feel that each of these bubbles seemed to contain a realm. These realms were born in the chaotic sea, and then floated out of the water as the bubbles floated out of the water. When the bubbles exploded on the sea level, the realms also disappeared. The last time Li Anping came here, he was in a coma and did not observe the scene here. But now he looked at the endless blue sea below his feet, and there was a hint of curiosity in his eyes. During his scan, the sea under his feet was completely a soup of energy. There was no force at all, be it gravity or electromagnetism. There was no force that could make up matter. There were no particles, no quarks, and no strings. There is not even any concept of time and space in the entire sea. It is completely pure energy, forming a chaotic ocean. Is this your true form? The tide of chaos. Li Anping frowned. All matter returns to chaos. He could imagine that once this kind of thing appeared in the universe and no one stopped it, it would probably be like ink. Just like infecting lake water, it is enough to infect the entire space-time into chaos, denying the existence of any pure matter, just like boiling the entire universe into a pot of porridge. But what Li Anping doesn't understand is that if this is the ultimate pursuit of the so-called chaos by the tide of chaos, then what he has done in various universes before, such as provoking various wars and disputes, has no meaning. He dropped his true form into those universes quickly and conveniently. So what is the purpose of what tide of chaos has done? This is something Li Anping has never figured out. Just as Li Anping was thinking about this, rays of cyan light converged in front of Li Anping. A man appeared in front of Li Anping with a mean smile on his face. It was the tide of chaos that had transformed into a human form. He didn't seem surprised to see Li Anping appear in the sea of chaos, and asked casually, "Why do you want to come see me? I helped you back then, but you left without even saying thank you. By the way, I should call you Li Anping? Or the country of delusion?" I don't remember when I became a demon. There was a chill in Li Anping's words. Even if one of the 12 demons stood in front of him, the highest ranking existence in the universe, he seemed to be speaking inappropriately. The gesture of fists and kicks. Hearing Li Anping's question, Chaos Tide smiled, "Hey hey hey. Did you know? Gold, blue and gray have all returned to their true colors. With the 12 demon gods from the past plus you, the number will soon be over. Got it together?" "What number?" "You will know this kind of question in the future. After all, we have infinite life, and we can always find the answer to any question in front of us." Chaos Tide did not answer Li Anping's question, but just raised another question, "But there is one question that remains unsolved even for us." Li Anping knew what the other party wanted, and it was naturally a question that the 12 demon gods, or even the 10 demon gods including him, could not answer: the end. But he had no words and continued to listen to the tide of chaos. "Because you and Bai made a 10,000-year agreement. 1,000 years later, the country you established will suffer an unprecedented disaster. Have you ever thought about the fact that the kingdom of God you are building now exists entirely because of your existence? 10,000 years from now, whether you are tired of playing with humans and want to abandon them, or you will come according to the agreement and meet us again if you fight, the country you built will completely collapse. And in this process, the bigger the country you build becomes and the more prosperous it develops, the more terrifying the disaster caused by its collapse will be. Do you have any idea?" Lian asked calmly. Of course, he knew that although Bai was an absolutely rational being and would not do thankless things, this did not mean that he would tolerate Li Anping's existence outside of him indefinitely, but when the threat reaches a point where Bai cannot ignore it, Bai will take action. Therefore, there will definitely be a battle between him and Bai in the future. And in the process of capturing Shang Tian, he discovered something special. That is Shang Tian's ability, and behind him, there is probably Bai's shadow. His role seems to be to help Bai integrate Li Anping in various timelines, who has not abandoned his humanity. Li Anping thought about his battle with the great god of heaven again, and I was afraid that his battle with Bai would not be resolved by fists and kicks. When you reach the level of a demon, fighting is no longer a battle in the ordinary sense. Under normal circumstances, physical damage and energy consumption are not of decisive significance. The most important thing is the grasp and manipulation of time and space. Such a battle is destined to span countless years, and all creatures and layouts, as well as various major historical events, will become part of their fight to seize the timeline. And now, Shang Tian has become a chess piece in the fight between Li Enping and Bai. This fight is destined to span countless time and space until the end of the entire multiverse. Li Enping's eyes unconsciously shot out cold rays. At present, it is not easy for him to keep the entire human society and develop in the direction he wants forever. It may even be very unlikely. At this time, Chaos Tide continued to speak, but this time he was no longer speaking human language, but a large amount of pure data. These data were received by Li Enping in the form of fluctuations. The amount was so huge that it was enough to cause any type of memory to crash. Humans communicate with vocal cords, and the rate of information transmission is too slow. Now Chaos Tide wants to talk to Li Enping about something, which obviously has a lot of information, so he chose this way to communicate with Li Enping. This is obviously normal. As a demon god level existence, every plan, every action, and every goal of theirs may need to cross thousands of universes and spend hundreds of millions of years to achieve, just like when Li Enping was fighting with the Heavenly Venerable. The operations he performed on the timeline, the war, society, mythology, various immortals, mortals, monsters, and monsters, are enough to write tens of thousands of wonderful books. As the Chaos Tide transmitted more and more information, Li Enping's face gradually showed a solemn look. He began to respond to the Chaos Tide in the same way. The huge data flow reverberated between the two people's consciousness algorithms, forming a silent communication. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xianglang Go. Chapter 503. No one knows what Li Enping and Chaos Tide planned. They only know that Li Enping returned to Earth 2 years later. The Earth at this time has become brand new. For example, there is no such concept as streets, stairs, and corridors in the entire city, because these things have been replaced by countless teleportation technologies. With the current human technology, teleportation technology is much safer than walking up the stairs or walking on the street. The process is even simpler. As long as ordinary people control the Xianwang through consciousness and choose the teleportation location, they can instantly reach any other location from any location on Earth. Of course, the premise is that the target location is a public area, or the private area has passed your entry application. Safety, practicality, and efficiency are all surpassed by teleportation technology. Except for a few preserved ancient buildings and ancient streets on the entire planet, everyone's travel is realized by teleportation gates. Many newly built buildings don't even have gates because no one uses them. The weapons made by Li Enping have also armed a total of 2 million interstellar warriors. This is a terrifying army that can kill most things in the universe in seconds. Depending on their reaction and judgment, they can jump forward at a speed of 1 to 20 light years per second, ignoring the threats of most physical phenomena in the universe. In the past 2 years, they have continuously helped Li Enping expand the territory of the Earth and have included the entire Milky Way in their surveillance. After all, at their speed, even if they cross the entire Milky Way, it will only take a day at most. It's just that because of the relationship between the number of people on Earth and productivity, it is still too small compared to the number of planets in the entire Milky Way. The number of stars exceeding 400 billion is definitely not something that humans can swallow now. In fact, there is no need to swallow it. Humans only rely on vacuum zero-point energy and mass energy conversion technology, and they don't have to worry about resource issues forever. So their colonization speed slowed down and almost stagnated until Li Enping returned to Earth 2 years later. A new round of major development began again. This time, Li Enping no longer actively promoted the cause of colonization or exploration. Instead, all the daily necessities were replaced with black technology, and a large number of protective equipment was manufactured to arm all the Earthlings. Then he sent another 100,000 space warriors to wipe out the entire Silver Shadow Empire. Facing the space warriors of the Earth, the Silver Shadow Empire, which has a history of countless years longer than the Earth army, seemed so vulnerable. This battle across countless star clusters. It lasted only more than a month before the surrender of the Silver Shadow Empire declared failure. The entire Silver Shadow Empire became a colony of the Earth, and the people of the Empire, like the creatures in other magic worlds and immortal worlds, all became natives and lower-class citizens in the eyes of the Earthlings. Except for some slowly outdated technologies, they could not enjoy the black technology equipment used on Earth. The following history. The entire human race entered a period of rapid development, but because there was no material problem, Li Anping was not interested in territorial expansion, but encouraged humans to explore the White Land. Find the gate to other worlds and increase the dimensions he understood and knew. In addition, Li Anping spent more time on the construction of human beings. Spiritual guidance. At this time, the military force mastered by humans has also entered a mythical era. Often a few people. At most a dozen people can conquer and ravage the world on the other side of the gate. Gods, demons, aliens, destroyers, giant monsters, humans have played countless roles in countless worlds, and have also extended Li Anping's tentacles to various dimensions in the multiverse. However, although humans often respect, treat each other well, and are friendly, this is not necessarily the case for foreign races. On the highest peak of the temple in Atlanta, violent purple lightning filled the sky. A warrior with dark brown skin, a shaved head, and tattoos all over his body stared at the sky. He was the first warrior in Atlanta. Behind him, the coalition forces of various races gathered together, and the colorful power turned the entire identity into a huge neon light. But no one made a sound. Everyone looked silently at the sky, looking at the small black figures, with surprisingly solemn faces. The bald warrior shouted first, and the shocking sound waves even shook the surrounding mountains. Gods from another world. Why are you here? Atlan welcomes travelers from afar, but it also prepares swords for all malice. In the sky, several men and women in armor looked at the native army under their feet with interesting expressions on their faces. A man said, "The leader is about the 5th energy level, but they are just soldiers. This planet seems to have gods," as he said. He shook his hand, and endless black air and red light emerged. 12 huge long banners turned into a large formation, wrapping up the entire mountain. The woman on the side frowned. The 12 gods and demons formation again? Why do you all want to practice this? What's the fun of breaking this formation? Just use the biological operator to brainwash these natives below. The woman really couldn't understand how this 12 gods and demons formation became popular. It was as if all of a sudden, advertisements for this kind of magic weapons were everywhere on the earth. The Donghuang Bell, the Fantian Seal, the purple and green twin swords, the Dushan Shensha, these immortal magic weapons became popular all of a sudden. In the eyes of the woman, it was just like practicing swords in the age of muskets, which was inexplicable. I don't know who is hyping it up, but it is certain that this person made a lot of magic weapons and sold them, and must have earned a lot of electronic coins. The man operated the formation on his own. 12 strange giants 100 feet tall rushed into the mountain, subdued all the warriors one by one, and then sucked them into the formation. Don't you think the 12 heavenly gods and demons formation is cool? I heard from my brother that if you absorb enough creatures, you can upgrade to the blood gold version, and the power of the formation is not weak. If you exert your full strength, you can still push stars and the like. The man continued, besides, these magic weapons are very popular recently. I plan to give it a try. If the upgrade is not troublesome, I plan to wholesale 20,000 of them, and then practice the blood gold version, sell it to others, and make some pocket money. Boring. For them, it is just the power of good looking or ugly, handsome or not, but for the natives of this world, it is already an irresistible and terrifying disaster. While the two were chatting, a water man and a light man rushed over from the east and west, bringing huge energy fluctuations and communicating with consciousness. Otherworldly gods, do you want to provoke a fight between gods? You think too much, you two, are just little frogs at the bottom of the well. As they said that, the two giants in the 12 capitals of gods and demons had already rushed out, each holding the water man and the light man in their hands and unable to break free. Seeing their horrified faces, the woman said reluctantly, "What do you want to do? They look so pitiful, let them go." As a result, with a puff, the two native gods had turned into a ball of blood and were sucked into the 12 capitals of gods and demons. At this moment, a group of armored earthlings flew in from the sky. When they saw the 12 gods and demons formation, they immediately frowned and shouted coldly, "What are you doing? Why are you abusing the natives? They are also lives. Don't you have any compassion?" Trouble, it's the people from the Indigenous Biological Protection Organization again. They are really bored. The man who cast the gods and demons formation of the 12 gods and demons accelerated the absorption process and answered loudly, "It's just a group of natives, ant-like creatures, do you need to make a fuss?" The few people who flew over looked at the man fiercely, but because all weapons between humans could not be used to attack each other, they could only defend each other, so they just glared at him hatefully and used means to save the natives on the mountain. The other side was naturally unwilling, so one side killed people and the other side saved people. For the people on the Atlanta land, a war of gods began. Similar things happen in various multiverses. Humans are harmonious, but once they reach other worlds, although humans cannot attack each other, for other races, blocking each other's actions is an unstoppable disaster. As time goes by, a debate about whether to treat indigenous creatures as slaves or treat them equally gradually spreads throughout human society. In the Daxia Palace, Li Anping frowned as he looked at the data that kept coming into his mind. To be continued. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xianglang Guo. Chapter 504. 12 years have passed since Li Anping returned from the Chaos Sea. Under his rule, humans have become one of the most powerful races in the multiverse. In just 12 years, their footprints have crossed tens of thousands of universes and conquered hundreds of thousands of races, and this speed is still accelerating. However, with the increase in the number of humans, the growth of territory, and the strength of military force, various problems gradually appeared in front of Li Anping. For example, the issue of dealing with indigenous races in front of him is one of the most prominent issues. Originally, according to the policy set by Li Anping, humans on Earth were first-class citizens and enjoyed all rights and obligations. Colonized indigenous peoples were second-class citizens and enjoyed some rights and obligations. All other creatures that were not included in the Earth's notification were third-class citizens with no rights or obligations. And because the material resources on Earth were fully satisfied, the spirit was guided by Li Anping, and all the weapons were completely monitored by Li Anping, so that they would not fight internally, and could not fight internally. But for the indigenous life of each world, there are not so many details. Especially in recent years, various abuses of third-class citizens, slaughter and trafficking of indigenous creatures have occurred from time to time, causing anxiety to a considerable number of humans. They have formed a group to establish the Aboriginal Protection Association to protect some native lives in the backward world. Although they cannot fight directly with humans who abuse, capture, and sell indigenous people, they can prevent other humans from slaughtering or abusing them by helping indigenous lives and sending them supplies. For indigenous lives, they are like gods, guiding them to avoid the pursuit of the devil. And a crack has gradually opened in the human camp. Humans who enjoy the life of slave owners, like to abuse, capture, and sell third-class indigenous lives, and treat indigenous people as private property. And humans who protect local creatures. Respect indigenous culture. Although the two parties cannot fight directly, the contradictions are getting deeper and deeper. They are also smart, talented, excellent, outstanding, and honest, enthusiastic, and kind to their compatriots. But because of different ideas, they have the same contradictions. The only thing that can be temporarily relieved is that most humans are still living on Earth. The games, movies, cartoons, and various cultivation contents on the Xianwang have made many humans happy every day. Only about 10% of people are really interested in experiencing the unknown world and going to the White Land for adventure. Among these 10%, only about 5% will go there in person, and the rest will travel by operating robots, avatars, and puppets. However, Li Anping can still imagine that even if this ratio does not change, as long as the number of people on the Earth continues to grow, the number of people in the two camps will increase. Although as long as he is still there, they will not really fight each other, but once he leaves, a war between countless races across countless universes may break out. And as various indigenous life forms gradually enter the Earth, such as slaves such as elves, fairies, girls, and princesses, the proportion of the two camps in human society will inevitably rise. The prophecy of the tide of chaos has gradually appeared in front of him. If he is destined to give up humans after all, then the later he gives up humans, the stronger humans will develop, and then when they collapse or split, the greater the impact on the entire multiverse. The most crucial point of all this is the so-called indigenous creatures. In Li Anping's mind, what kind of relationship do they have with the humans on Earth? At this moment, a girl jumped into the study room. The girl had silver hair, snow-white skin, and big eyes like a sapphire lake. She looked like a cute doll. But because she was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, her two long white legs were exposed, giving people a feeling of youth. The girl walked to Li Anping in 2 or 3 steps, then sat beside Li Anping, grabbed Li Anping's arm and said, "Dad." The girl was Lisa C., who was already 19 years old. She grew up in the palace since she was a child. Because of the love of Xia Yunyun and others, although there were teachers to teach her, no one sent her to the virtual world to study and spend her childhood. She just lived a fairy tale life every day. It can be said that everyone in the palace watched her grow up little by little. Because of Lisa C's identity, she could not come into contact with many people and many things, so that although she was 19 years old, she was still very simple. Of course, this simplicity does not mean that she is not smart. In fact, her IQ is very high. It's just that she has lived in a fairy tale world like truth, goodness, and beauty since she was a child. She doesn't know much about cruelty, evil, darkness, competition, and elimination in this multiverse. She pouted, held up her plump little chest, shook Li Anping's arm and said, "Dad, I went to a continent with Jinyao to adventure with biochemical people today. I saw many races, and those races were so pitiful. They can only live for 70 or 80 years, can't fly, can't teleport, and don't even have a mysterious net. They just work and sleep every day. They can't even eat ice cream every day. Eating too much will make you sick." Li Anping nodded, didn't speak, just listened to his daughter's words little by little. Lisa C was also used to her father's not liking to talk. Instead, she felt that her father was very cool to listen so quietly. After all, in her heart, her father is the coolest man in the world. As for Jin Yao, she is Jin Guang's daughter. She is the type of child whose parents let her develop. She graduated directly from the virtual world at the age of 7 and cultivated her body into a hot and sexy lady in her 20s. What she likes most is to go on adventures in different worlds. 3 years have passed, and she is only 10 years old now. However, after all kinds of adventures and battles in the other world alone, she looks even more experienced than her father Jin Guang. After all, Jin Guang spends most of his time in the army, unlike his daughter who has come into contact with many people from all walks of life. In the past year, Jin Yao got into trouble in a high-level civilization, so Jin Guang caught her and asked her to stay on Earth and receive special training arranged by Jin Guang every day for a total of 20 years. However, because of this, she became good friends with Xiao Hui. She would take Xiao Hui to remotely control the cyborg and adventure in the other world whenever she had something to do. Li Anping's mind flashed the other party's information. I thought to myself, so, Jin Yao is in favor of protecting the indigenous people, and wants to influence me through Xiao Huila. Li Anping touched Li Sisi's head and said, Xiao Huila, since they are so pitiful, I will give you the planet as your birthday gift this year. You can list out how you want to govern the planet and what materials you want to give them and send them to the intelligent brain. Thank you, Dad. Li Sisi hugged Li Anping with both hands and shouted excitedly. Li Anping felt his daughter's swollen breasts accidentally rub against him, and sighed in annoyance. His children. They will grow up eventually. And their identities also destine them to be extraordinary in their lives. What's more, with the current human lifespan, even those who don't practice anything can live for thousands of years with the help of longevity oral liquid. Li Anping can imagine that his children will continue to multiply, and the number of grandchildren and great-grandchildren will increase, even if they are all kind and upright because of Li Anping's spiritual guidance and control. There is no bullying of the same kind. But once their ideas change, the impact and power they can bring will inevitably exceed that of ordinary earthlings. The sheer number of such people will cause a series of problems in the future. The moon waxes and wanes. People have joys and sorrows. The more Li Anping transforms the world, the more he finds that every time he solves an old problem, more new problems will arise in human society. Universal longevity. It brings a series of population and ethical problems. As time goes by, maybe two men and women who look equally young. Maybe they are great-great-great-great-grandfather and great-great-great-great-granddaughter, which will cause a long series of ethical problems. And regardless of whether they are men or women, facing thousands or even tens of thousands of years of age, can they really be faithful to one person? Or get married dozens or even hundreds of times? Or even have no concept of marriage in the future? Although the time is still short and the problems have not yet erupted, Li Anping can already foresee these problems. And comprehensive cultivation, becoming stronger, and black technology equipment will bring a huge impact on other races, and once these races are taken back to Earth as slaves or pets by humans, they will cause various problems. For example, if some men and women want to marry a foreigner, or they especially love a foreigner, maybe they will help the relatives and friends of that foreigner, or even help the entire foreigner. It is possible that some Earthlings slaughtered important members of other races, causing other races to go to war with humans. As time goes by, as long as humans come into contact with more and more universes and races, there will be more and more hostile races. Do they have to exterminate them all? Li Anping has turned the entire world of human beings on Earth into a kingdom of God, but this kingdom of God still cannot get rid of the constant emergence of new problems, and cannot perfectly match Li Anping's own moral values, making him feel perfect. He is increasingly aware that the perfect kingdom of God he wants is just a country that conforms to his moral values. It's like the world that politicians want, the world that murderers want, the world that ascetics want, and the world that magicians want must all be different. Because they grew up in different environments, have different moral values, and different life goals, they naturally think that the standards of so-called good are also different. Maybe one person thinks that killing is normal, while one person thinks that murderers should be sentenced to death, and another person thinks that murderers only need to go to jail. Li Anping understood more and more that the country he wanted must gradually unify the moral values and values of all human beings with his. He wanted the whole world to conform to his values and worldview and run according to his will. This is destined to be a long process. With the great abundance of materials, humans can make almost everything they want with the help of void creations, so everyone has the best conditions that are as good as they can be, resulting in a world that is infinitely close to fairness and justice within the human race. They are born and grow up in almost the same environment, and more people will have similar values and moral standards. One day, this ratio will eventually approach 100%. What Li Anping has to do now is to constantly guide humans and become the ultimate guarantee of the Earth so that it will not collapse halfway. This will be a very long time. A few days later, a new decree on the law of protecting native life was personally issued by Li Anping to the terminals of all human beings on Earth. The main content is that unless the target is voluntary or there are unavoidable reasons, such as war, other unlimited hunting and buying and selling of native life are prohibited. Obviously, this is the judgment made by Li Anping based on his own values and moral standards. But similarly, not everyone on Earth agrees with this policy. To be continued. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiang Go. Chapter 505. In a modern alien city, the whole bar is filled with bustle and bustle. A coquettish female dancer, a lonely pretty white-collar worker, and a young and beautiful female college student. The bar is filled with all kinds of beauties who come to have fun. All kinds of lust are released in bars, allowing men and women in the city to reveal their long-repressed nature. In such a fanatical and even slightly erotic atmosphere, a young man with black hair and black eyes, who looked to be only 14 or 15 years old, was sitting on the sofa with an indifferent expression. His aura was so special, so incompatible with the atmosphere in the bar. But the mysterious and aristocratic aura he exuded kept attracting the women around him. "Little brother, did you come here alone?" A charming girl with surging breasts and a touch of snow-white chest walked to sit next to him. She wanted to put a hand on her shoulder, but suddenly she felt a terrifying coercion rushing towards her face, just like in front of her. "It's not a person, but a humanoid Tyrannosaurus. Don't touch me with your mean hands, get out of here." The boy's voice blew past the woman's ears like the cold Siberian wind. The woman's back was covered in cold sweat, her heart was completely filled with fear, and she looked completely lost. In the end, she didn't even know how she left. A few meters away from the sofa where the boy was sitting, a handsome young man in his early 20s was squeezed among three girls, touching left and right, laughing a few times from time to time, looking like a romantic young man. Li Nian, who is in his teens. When he saw the boy's movements, he moved over a little and kicked the boy's knee. "What are you doing? Just relax when you come out to play. There is no such place on Earth. They are all virtual things." The young man frowned, glanced at Li Nian and said, "Brother, I admired you before. But only a few years have passed, and you have already fallen. After such a long time, not only has your strength not improved at all, but you are actually the same as this person. These lower races mix together and indulge in the lowest level of lust. To be honest, you disappointed me." The boy's voice directly came to Li Nian's mind. When Li Nian heard it, he laughed and said, "Little saint son, have you been in the virtual world for a long time? I heard that you are in that place, and besides practicing every day, you are fighting. So, as soon as you come out, I'll take you to relax. Listen to me, as a human being, we need to be happy in life. No matter how long we practice, no matter how hard we try, it will be useless. It can't overcome a demon-level thought. We might as well enjoy more blessings and be happy every day. Come. You stay with my brother, it's his first time here and he can't let go." As he spoke, he patted a student girl next to him. I don't know what was said in the girl's ear, which made her giggle and walk up to the boy. But when he saw the student girl coming over, the boy looked like a snake, his eyes turned into yellow vertical pupils. A cold light flashed through it. "Get out." The next moment, the student girl was blown away by an invisible force and fell unconscious on the ground. It caused a series of screams in the bar. Li Nian stood up, frowned and looked at the young man and said, "Li Sheng, You can say no if you don't like it. Why attack her? These women are very fragile. If you had used more force just now, they might have died. This is reality, not a virtual world. When people die, they really die. An ant-like creature will die when it dies. Li Sheng glanced at Li Nian and said, "Brother, I originally wanted to discuss something with you, but it seems that it is not necessary now. You, like everyone else, have also fallen." As he spoke, his figure slowly disappeared in front of Li Nian, like a ghost, causing an exclamation in the bar. At the same time as the Native Life Protection Act was promulgated, a law on the protection of minors was promulgated a few days later. In order to prevent the Earthlings who are too young from falling behind in living standards, they still live in a society that deceives, competes with and attacks each other. Influenced by the indigenous creatures, their values and moral values gradually deviated from Li Anping's standards. Li Anping banned all Earthlings under 100 years old from traveling to other worlds. They must stay on Earth for 100 years, and during this process they fully accept Li Anping's guidance and education. After they have solid values and moral standards, they will not kill or commit violence wantonly, nor will they be arrogant because of their own strength. Wait until you become a kind god in the eyes of other races before you can travel to other worlds. After that, this Earthling chooses a colony or undeveloped territory and becomes the god of that world, helping or watching the development of other civilizations. Or become a multidimensional traveler, experience the scenery of different worlds and participate or observe, or stay on the Earth and focus on scientific research, games, cultivation, entertainment, and other work. It is up to them to choose. But as Li Anping knows, some people on Earth don't like this, and they may not be bad people in the traditional sense. But they enjoy the pleasure of doing whatever they want in lower civilizations and satisfying their own desires. For them, they are happy to make waves in other alien civilizations and do whatever they want. There are also some human racists who believe that humans are supreme and other foreign races are nothing more than pets and slaves. They do things that make them happy but also disgust many other humans on Earth. It is also under Li Anping's moral standards and is not his ideal country, so their actions are destined to be banned by Li Anping. For Li Anping, the virtual world, artificial intelligence, and void creation are enough to satisfy all their desires. There is no reason for the alien world to do whatever it wants. It is an irrational desire and must be stopped. But the nature of the creatures in the whole world and even the whole universe is constant competition and elimination. Whether it is between biological individuals, between one race and another, or between one force and another. These things will cooperate for the sake of interests, and they will also fight for the sake of interests. And when one of them is at an absolute disadvantage in terms of power, then they cannot be equal. Just like the colonial era on Earth, the weaker party will be brutally suppressed and exploited. Especially in the multiverse. Different races, life forms, civilization trends, and moral standards are often very different. In this case, when two different races meet, the possibility of war, destruction, domination, and colonization is far greater than the so-called peaceful coexistence. Especially when the power between the two races is quite different. Even some races and some civilizations, killing, destruction, and destruction are their main purpose and their goal. Competition and elimination, this is the essence of the races in the entire multiverse. After humans have powerful power, they will not be eliminated by other races, and it will naturally be their turn to exploit, suppress, and eliminate other races. But Li Anping forcibly changed the nature of the universe while knowing these truths. To realize the impossible proposition that everyone can live a free and happy life. He is forcibly reversing this trend with his own strength. It's like letting lions only eat grass and tigers not eat meat. It can be said to be against the will of heaven and against all historical trends. For all this, he first solved the problem of human resources, so that the human beings on Earth would not attack other races because of most of the resources. The next step is to slowly guide the human spirit and human moral standards through the Xianwang and various policies, and move closer to his moral standards. In the human world, eliminate all kinds of contradictions and change the nature of competition and elimination between creatures. To realize a paradise where everyone becomes a god, everyone feels extremely happy, there are no contradictions, no disputes, no oppression, and everything you want. This process will be a very long process, and Li Enping does not know whether he can achieve this goal or even realize it within 1,000,000 years. But in the following days, he has been moving towards this ideal country in his dreams, a world that he thinks is right and perfect. As time goes by, the entire Earth society is indeed moving more and more in this direction under Li Enping's intervention. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Go. Chapter 506. 100 years later, human society has become more and more developed, and the manipulation and attitude in the spiritual aspect have reached an unparalleled level. Personality and talent have become something that almost everyone will adjust. People can reshape their spirit at will, just like reshaping their body. So next, in addition to consciously adjusting interests, hobbies, and personality, the Earthlings began to adjust their love. Obviously, this is also Li Enping's way to solve the ethical problems brought about by longevity and guide the attitude of all Earthlings towards love in a rational direction. Under the guidance of Li Enping, more and more people have blocked their own body in their normal state, that is, they will hardly like someone or want to sleep with someone because of various external stimuli. It seems that overnight, many people have become sexually cold. Men and women have become good brothers and sisters. However, this is only the normal state. Once a man and a woman decide to get married, or they think that the other party is worthy of their love, they will adjust their brain's chemical secretions and consciousness algorithms and fall in love with each other. This man and woman will always fall in love with each other until they adjust their bodies again. This adjustment is called love goal adjustment. Since the function of this mysterious network was developed, human society has undergone tremendous changes again. It can be said that in a sense, most humans are mainly divided into two camps. First, those who want to get married and like to be loyal to their partners, they usually block their sexual desire. After finding a partner they think is suitable, they will adjust the other party to their love target, then get married and live together. However, because they usually block their sexual desire, it will take them a very long time to find a suitable love target, ranging from hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. The second is those who are unwilling to block their sexual desire and do not want to get married, and just like men and women. These people usually maintain a strong sexual desire. They are often addicted to virtual or other worlds, where they only need to express an intention, and countless opposite sexes are willing to climb onto their beds. Of course, the two camps are actually just two attitudes towards life. Most people initially have the second indulgent attitude towards life. When they get tired of playing, they will enter the first more rational attitude towards life, and sexual desire will only occupy a small proportion in their lives. The human society before. If most people want to get married, they usually have to meet the other party's material requirements, such as a house and a car. In today's human society, material requirements are not considered requirements. If you want to marry a partner, the other party will definitely ask for an adjustment in the relationship goal. Only by meeting the other party's requirements can you get married. After marriage, both parties will have children. Because most humans before marriage almost shut down their reproductive functions to avoid unnecessary trouble. As a result, fewer and fewer people get married as time goes by, because finding a partner has become a very time-consuming thing. Human time concepts have also changed with the increase in life expectancy. Most humans will have to go through hundreds or even thousands of years before they find a partner that both they and the other party are satisfied with. At that time, humans who may only be a few hundred years old or 1 or 2,000 years old are those who have not played enough and want to indulge. Most humans are either married or are people who block and do not want to let affect their judgment and reason. Of course, there are always exceptions. Some people who are thousands or tens of thousands of years old may still like to play and indulge. However, as a result, the growth rate of human beings will slow down, because marriage has become a cautious matter, the birth rate has decreased year by year, and family conflicts and disputes have rapidly decreased. Then, thousands of years later, when most humans, under the guidance of Li Enping, became more and more rational, more and more civilized, and more like a god while maintaining their interests and personalities, the tomb of the gods named Delusion Township was born in the hands of Li Enping. A starry sky shining with silver light constantly revolves around the earth, where Li Enping personally cuts off an insignificant part of the consciousness algorithm of every human on earth and seals them in Delusion Township. In addition, every newborn of human beings in the future will have a part of the consciousness algorithm cut off and sealed in Delusion Township. The role of Delusion Township is to divide all human beings into two parts, who exist in the heavens and the world and Delusion Township at the same time. It's just that the amount of information in Delusion Township is usually zero, so they can only feel their bodies outside Delusion Township. The consciousness algorithm sealed in Delusion Township is like an internal organ that humans cannot feel or control in the past era. When they die, the consciousness algorithm outside the Delusion Town will collapse, and the consciousness algorithm inside the Delusion Town will wake up, leaving a part behind and returning to Earth again. In other words, my fellow countrymen, Li Enping's figure appeared in the Xianwang and on everyone's personal terminal. Jingguang was practicing on a neutron star with his wife and daughter. Jingguang's face was full of determination, and suddenly a slap hit her daughter Jinyao's reluctant head. Yanbei was riding a spaceship through the world and traveling through time. Behind him, from time to time, some huge four-dimensional creatures jumped out, just like whales in the sea. Bai Xing was wearing ancient robes and walking among some ancient tombs suspended in the void, as if he was looking for something. A huge dragon suddenly rushed out from the ground of the tomb and rushed behind him. SpecialAbilities is still on the earth. Since his retirement, he has lived back in his original house and fell in love with flowers and plants. At this time, he is playing with a small tree. The fruits on the small tree are very strange. They have all grown into the baby looks like a living creature. When these ginseng fruits are ripe, I will send some to Xiaohui. Emma stood in a sexy laboratory and pouted, but the doctor turned a blind eye and stared closely at the console, where a cosmic river system that had been shrunk by trillions of times was slowly slowing down. Spin slowly. Fang Yuhuang walked in the original Bio Palace, now a tourist attraction, and smiled. While looking at Li Enping on the personal terminal projection screen, he said to Fang Yuelin beside him, "Sometimes I really feel that everyone on the planet has become extremely happy and has spent the happiest time in their lives, but Li Enping may still be the unhappiest and loneliest person in the world. Because his goal, his dream, is too far away." No matter which corner of the multiverse or which timeline, personal terminals instantly transmitted Li Enping's words to the consciousness of every human on Earth. Fellow compatriots, Li Enping said calmly, from today on, death will no longer be the end. All human beings will completely bid farewell to the concept of death. I will grant you eternal life. All human beings, no matter how they die, will be resurrected in paranoia. With Li Enping's repeated promotion, human beings have entered an unprecedented era of immortality. Feeling the various messages constantly coming from all corners of the multiverse, Li Enping cut off the communication from his personal terminal and slowly closed his eyes. Bai, you once said that humans will never learn lessons and will always make the same mistakes in history. Then after gaining endless lifespan and my guidance, I believe that they will no longer repeat history and wander in the cycle of good and evil. I will eventually succeed and create a country that we are satisfied with." Just as he was thinking about it, Li Sheng, wearing a golden crown and walking on cloud shoes, had transformed into a heroic young man and walked into the palace in front of Li Anping. His eyes were particularly bright, like stars in the sky, and he seemed to be the center of attention wherever he went. "Father! Are you here? I told you, you don't need to be so serious about your title." "No, I think it's better to call it that." "Father, I came here today to ask you what you think about the policy I submitted last time." On a certain modern planet, Li Nian yawned and opened the curtains. The sun shone in. A series of screams came from the bed, and 3 white girls hid under the quilt. Li Nian laughed and said, "Why are you 3 so shy? You saw everything you should see yesterday." Another series of flirting followed, but halfway through, Li Nian's expression suddenly changed, and someone from Earth contacted him through a personal terminal. It was Lisa C's crying voice. Li Nian waved his hand, and the 3 women on the bed had been put on clothes and teleported to the door. He frowned and said, "Xiao Hui, why are you crying? Stop crying. Tell me if you have anything." The little saint is locked up," Lisa C cried loudly. "Dad is so cruel. His whole face is dark. The 3rd child is locked up again? Did he make Dad angry by fighting again? Where is he locked up? When he comes out, I will help you teach him a lesson." "This time is different," Lisa C cried even harder. "He was imprisoned in Yanjai district. Dad said he would be imprisoned for 990,000 Earth years." Yanjai district, Li Nian was startled. The so-called Eternal Night Zone is a randomly selected space-time or singularity where the Big Bang has not yet occurred. There is neither the concept of time nor the concept of space. People inside can feel nothing and can't feel anything. If you can't do it, you can't even feel your own existence or thoughts, and you might go crazy in just a few minutes. That is the most severe punishment currently available to mankind. Since Li Anping came to rule mankind, only 3 people have been punished in this way, and at most they would have to be imprisoned for a few years. But now Li Sheng will be imprisoned for 990,000 years. Thinking of this, Li Nian comforted him casually, "Okay, don't worry, I think Dad just wants to scare him. I will investigate this matter, don't worry." After the communication was disconnected, Li Nian's brows furrowed even more tightly. Just teleported and left this world. He never returned to this planet. To be continued, please search Ocean Literature. The novels will be better and updated faster. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xionglang Guo. Chapter 507. Countless years have passed, and the entire earth is getting closer and closer to the kingdom of God in Li Anping's mind. Although it has not reached the 100% in his mind, eliminating all troubles and contradictions, except for perverts and bad guys, basically everyone lives a happy life like a myth. In short, this is a world where Li Anping still hopes to move towards 100%, while others feel that the current 99% is already very satisfactory. But even so, there are still things in the multiverse that can threaten mankind. Tianjing, the palace. The sound of laughter from the 2 people came from the bed, and the shadows of 2 figures could be vaguely seen twisting and hugging each other, as if doing that man and woman thing. As soon as Li Sheng saw this scene, he turned around and wanted to leave, but Lisa C on the bed poked her head out. "Leave as soon as you come," as she said. She had already formed a white dress on her body and appeared outside the bed. The whole big bed was blocked by a layer of black light, making it difficult to see what was inside. Li Sheng looked at Lisa C, who was wearing a white robe, with her hair tied up and wrapped in a white crown. There was no trace of her past frailty, but she was full of vigor and her attire was full of heroic spirit. If it weren't for her swollen chest and the blush on her face that hadn't faded, she would have looked like a handsome young man. I didn't expect to come at the wrong time, Li Sheng said lightly. You have changed more than I thought. After so many years, people will always change. Lisa C smiled and said, little brother, you have been out for so long, why do you think of coming back now? I have my own things to do. As for coming here today, I just want to ask. Li Sheng stared at Lisa C and asked, is he gone? Lisa C said casually, well, Dad left after attending today's celebration. From today on, I will preside over the entire country. Li Sheng's eyes flashed with a trace of relief, a trace of surprise, and a trace of confusion. I didn't expect it. Did he choose you in the end? Otherwise. The eldest brother is too lazy, you are too radical, and the fourth and fifth brothers have their own ambitions. Lisa C sneered, and do you think I really like this position? I hate the earth and the people on earth. They are all a bunch of termites. I often think, if there is no such a group of drag, if we can get a bottle, our family may live happier, and Dad won't have so many troubles. I haven't seen him smile for too long. Li Sheng frowned, what are you going to do? You can't destroy the whole country. Of course not, although I hate all this, but it's all my dad's hard work. Since he has given it to me to take care of, I will naturally keep it going and protect this place I hate forever. Lisa C turned his head and looked at Li Sheng, and said sincerely, Old Three, can you help me? Not interested, Li Sheng said lightly, I have no interest in your choice. I will find a place to open up my country. Build an empire that can conquer everything and conquer the heavens and the worlds. Trample everything in this world under your feet. Lisa C said confidently, with me here, you have no chance. You really changed. Li Sheng turned his head and wanted to leave here. At this moment, a head stretched out from the black light curtain on the bed. It was a female dark elf with pointed ears and silver hair. Under the waterfall-like long hair, there is an attractive naked body. Your Majesty, are you not ready yet? Lisa C waved her hand and let the female elf go back. Looking at the dazed Li Sheng. At first, it seemed a little awkward, but in the end, she said calmly, you are right. I like women. After that, a dead silence fell between the two siblings. Seemingly suppressed by Lisa C's righteous attitude. Li Sheng said weakly, women are also good. After that, he wanted to slap himself. What a mess he was talking about, so he turned around and left. Lisa C said with a smile, come home often when you have time. I have many girls to introduce to you. After hearing this, Li Sheng sped up and disappeared in an instant. At the same time, somewhere on the earth, the space was folded. Baijiu yawned and looked at the empty bar, but there was nothing unexpected. How could anyone come to a bar on earth now? If people go out to play, they can go to another world, to virtual time and space. They can enjoy whatever they want. They can enjoy whatever kind of bar, private room, food, and drink they want. It's just a thought. Naturally, it's impossible to come to a bar. However, opening a store is Baijiu's interest. He once opened a prop store in front of a dragon cave, a martial arts secret bookstore in the mountains, and even a magic weapons store in the capital of a certain country. He also opened a store selling elixirs in the countryside of a certain feudal dynasty. He opened an underwear store in the fairy world and a children's toy store in the territory of the demon clan. It can be said that opening different stores in different time and space and selling unique props to different races is his interest. The reason why he opened such a bar when he returned to Earth this time can only be said that Baijiu wanted to do so, so he did it. The so-called just do it is a trend in today's Earth society. In today's society, opening a bar is just a matter of thought. He casually applied for a piece of unused wasteland in the folding space, called up the building module, spent 10 minutes designing the bar, and waited for about 5 minutes, and the bar was built. However, this is the third day since he opened the bar, and no one has come. Sure enough, it is impossible to open such a bar in such a place. Baijiu yawned again. Forget it, I'll close it after get off work today. So he sat behind the bar, connected to the internet through consciousness, and began to browse various news information. Huh? Is today the 1 millionth anniversary of the empire? Baijiu pulled the corner of his mouth. It's really not easy, the races of the multiverse. You have been tossed by us for 1 million years and you haven't gone on strike yet. You are really hard. Just as Baijiu left his comments on the internet and laughed at other people's messages, the bell of the bar rang. There will be guests coming? He thought, and raised his head in surprise, and saw a man with blue eyes. A young man with blue hair walked in slowly, with a smile on his face. But for some reason, Baijiu always felt a little bit mean when he saw the other person's smile, which made people want to punch him. As for the hair color and pupils, they looked normal to Baijiu. After all, with the current technology of mankind, it is too simple to reshape the body. Even Baijiu himself chose white hair and pupils to match his clothes. Hello. What do you want? The green-haired young man smiled, shook his head and said, No, I'll wait for someone first, and then order when they come. Baijiu felt a little strange. It was a bit strange that a customer came here, and he was waiting for someone. You know, his bar has only been open for 3 days, but he hasn't even done a dime of advertising. He looked at the green-haired young man curiously, and then went online again. He also left a few puppets to open stores in other worlds, and it was just right to go over to see the situation, which was much more interesting than here. A few minutes later, the bell at the door of the bar rang again, and 2 more people walked in together. One was a woman wearing leather clothes and leather pants, with a hot body, and purple hair and pupils. The other one was a man with black hair and black eyes. His skin was like that of a dark elf. The purple-haired woman sat down opposite the green-haired man, with her round and slender legs directly raised on the table. She looked at the green-haired man unhappily. Pervert, why did you choose such a shabby place? My toilet at home is more luxurious than this one. The green-haired man smiled indifferently. There is only one bar like this in the whole earth now. I can't do anything about it. The black-haired and black-eyed man also sat down silently, his voice a little hoarse. Haven't the others arrived yet? Wait a little longer, you know it's not easy for them to come here. It's not as simple as you. The green-haired man smiled and said, What do you want to drink? I'll treat you. Baijiu pressed the button and selected the drinks ordered by the 3 people into the ordering program. After a while, the food will be directly delivered to the 3 people's table. But his eyes were still on the black-haired and black-eyed man. He always felt that he looked familiar. It looks so familiar, I always feel like I've seen it somewhere. At this moment, a report on the internet caught his attention. It was the news about Li Anping holding a celebration in Tianjin. Looking at the video on the news and the image of Li Anping, Baijiu immediately reacted. Damn, this idiot changed himself into the appearance of His Majesty, and it was a black version. Tisk, tisk, he is really brave. Baijiu's eyes twitched slightly, and he applied for an image retention function. The air-red nano-worms immediately began to record the figure of the black-haired and black-eyed man. At this moment, the whole room suddenly shook. In Baijiu's surprised eyes, a big hole was directly knocked open in the wall of the tavern. A strong man with hair and pupils burning like blood flames walked in directly. On the strong man's shoulder, there was a pure green parrot. Before Baijiu could say anything, the green-haired young man stood up first and said to Baijiu with an apologetic look, I'm sorry, this person has a problem with his brain. I'll help you fix it later. Baijiu waved his hand, indicating that it was okay. It was indeed all right. He just called up a repair module function, and the nano-worms in the air took less than half a minute to repair the big hole that the red-haired strong man had knocked out. He just looked at the red-haired strong man with some curiosity, and felt that his behavior was really strange. At the dining table, The young man with black hair and black pupils looked at the red-haired strong man unhappily and said, "Hong, your brain looks more and more rusty. I never take detours when I walk, because if there is something blocking me, I will just run over it." The red-haired strong man showed a cruel smile. "Hey, you just restored your true form, are you so impatient to stand in front of me?" "Okay, okay, okay." The green-haired young man waved his hand and said, "I didn't come here to quarrel today. Besides, have you forgotten whose territory this is? Even if you hurt a human being a little, Hong, aren't you afraid that he will bury your head in the toilet and seal it for 10,000 years? Hearing this, a trace of displeasure flashed across Hong's face, but surprisingly he did not refute. Seeing the two men stop, the green-haired young man looked at the red-haired strong man's shoulder again, looked at the parrot and said, "King of the copycat, what are you doing again?" "Quack. Isn't this good?" The parrot flapped its wings and cried, "Just like Hong, all strong people will have their own unique behavior. The so-called strong enough is willful. Don't compare me with you." "Okay, okay." The green-haired young man waved his hand, "It doesn't matter." Suddenly, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he saw a figure coming to the bar with endless silver light. Then he took a deep breath, and his spiritual touch swept every corner of the earth. Feeling the other consciousness and power that arrived on the earth one after another, he finally showed a satisfied smile. After countless years of waiting, the change of time and space, people, gods, and demons are finally here. All preparations have been completed. In the silver shadow, Li Enping's figure slowly appeared. "Then don't say any more nonsense." He Chaos Tide laughed. "Then according to the agreement, the final dinner officially begins. To be continued. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xianglang Go. Chapter 508. Chapter 508. Finally finished. The Man at the Top of the Food Chain. This book started to be uploaded on March 13th, and it has been uploaded until today, November 27th. Although the time is not long, I have written 1.54 million words. It is really the first time for me, and it is not easy. First of all, I would like to thank all the brothers and sisters who have been following Li Enping's footsteps all the way and reading from beginning to end. Without your support, I would never be able to finish this book. Because the enthusiasm of one person may be extinguished in a few weeks or months. But the enthusiasm of a group of people is enough to burn for a long, long time. It is you who have injected your enthusiasm into me, which has allowed me to burn until now and truly finish this book. Looking back at the past 1.5 million words, there are many shortcomings, and many things I want to express, but due to the poor writing style, I have not been able to express them perfectly. The only thing to be proud of is that I have written down many of my inspirations, about ability, about dimension, about time and space, although they are all fabricated and not classics, but at least I have said many things that I have been thinking about in my stomach. I think you will find that the ending of the book Food Chain is lingering. To be honest, I spent several hours revising the final chapter, but I was still not satisfied. Perhaps it was because of my limited level and lack of writing skills. No matter how much I wrote, I always felt that there were some shortcomings. The reason why I wrote such a lingering ending was that I wanted to write a sequel if I didn't have to worry about the results in the future, and a few old friends were willing to read it, because there were still stories I wanted to tell. Please forgive my greed. After all, this novel is really a novel I love very much. I don't want it to end completely and disappear without a trace. So even if it is just possible, I hope to tell the story of Li Enping again and tell the game of the 13 demons. Now that I have finished talking about the food chain, let's talk about the new book. The new book should also be a story that takes place in the multiverse, but it has almost nothing to do with Li Enping. The new book will learn from the lessons of the previous book and try to write an interesting story that everyone likes and loves to read. In order to achieve this goal, I am now working hard to write an outline, write settings, and write drafts. It is expected to be completed in 1 month, and will be uploaded on January 1st at the latest. If you still remember me and the book Food Chain by then, I hope you will support me. Thank you. November 27, 2014 Beowulf Dog, to be continued. Please search Ocean Literature, the novels are better and updated faster.